Thank you for joining us today. Hello and welcome to From Lansing with Love. I'm your host, State Representative Leslie Love. Every month we discuss a different topic with interesting guests. I hope you will find this program both informative and insightful. Detroit and Michigan put the world on wheels with the mass production of the Model T just over a century ago. But technology has advanced rapidly, and the future that many thought was just a fantasy is here today. Flying cars envisioned in movies and TV shows are still a future fantasy, but driverless autonomous vehicles are here today. And in some places, they are being driven in a limited capacity on our streets and roads. We want to keep putting the world on wheels. And Michigan, that employs the highest number of engineers in the country per capita, is on the cutting edge of this new technology, with places like the American Center for Mobility in Ypsilanti and M-City at the University of Michigan. So today I'm here with Brian Wolf, the head of autonomous vehicle business at Ford Motor Company. Ford is making major commitments to autonomous vehicles by placing its autonomous and electric vehicle business and strategy teams in a historic 45,000 square foot former factory in Detroit's Corktown neighborhood. So I am glad to welcome my first guest, Brian Wolf. Thank you for being here and welcome, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, this is exciting. First, let's get to know you, Brian. How long have you been with Ford Motor Company?
Well, it's really interesting. I actually started my career at Ford Motor Company 10 years ago and was there as an engineer for 4 years. I then left and did a number of different things, and all the excitement that's going on in the automotive space brought me back to Ford about 2 years ago.
Wow. And you're in this new, well, it seems relatively new to regular folks, this autonomous vehicle technology. But it's been secretly kind of been implemented in our cars every day, every year now. So tell us about how autonomous vehicles are moving into the future in a larger way than just backup assistance.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because Ford started working on fully autonomous vehicles about 10 years ago in the DARPA challenge. So we've been working on this for almost 10 years. And as you said, we've also been having it slowly come into vehicles, whether it be park assist or emergency braking and so forth. And now we are really focused on bringing this technology to the masses and to our cities. And so we have a full-fledged effort right now to do that in 2021, where we will be bringing a purpose-built autonomous vehicle to the public.
Right. So why do we need autonomous vehicles? I mean, I've been driving like this. My first car was a stick shift, Brian. So now I won't have to shift the stick or control the steering wheel. So why is this important technology and we're moving so fast into it now?
Well, I think, from our view, Ford started out as being very focused on providing mobility to the masses, and that was Henry Ford's vision with the Model T. And that was all about building an affordable product that people could bring home to their families and travel America. And same with autonomous vehicles. We think will open up the freedom of mobility to everyone, and not just people, but also goods. And so there are people right now who may not be able to afford a car. There are people right now who can't drive, say the elderly, and we believe this technology will open up that the mobility for them. At the same time, we're seeing a massive increase in goods deliveries. I'm sure we're all doing more things on Amazon, ordering things online, and that's bringing congestion to our cities. And so we believe that these autonomous vehicles will be much more efficient than having, say, a van go to every single door. We can actually aggregate demand and packages into a single vehicle and help eliminate some of that congestion. So we think there's a lot of benefits to cities from a mobility standpoint for just people, from a congestion standpoint, and then also the technology we believe will be safer than the human driver. So we think there's a lot of advantage there as well.
Wow. So there's a difference between a commercial autonomous vehicle and the type that I would buy. So can you tell us if a regular citizen wants to go out and buy an autonomous vehicle, let's say next year or in 2020,
Yeah.
what can we expect kind of standard on autonomous vehicles? And then talk about the difference between that and a commercial, so those delivery trucks, what type of technology?
Well, right now, the way the technology we rolled out is that it's going to be geofenced, meaning that it can only be operated in a mapped area. So we will go city by city and map the dense urban areas of a city, and those vehicles will be owned by Ford Motor Company, and you'll be able to hail one of those vehicles to get a ride. Personal ownership we see as being something further down the road. And that's because we want to make sure we have the technology right, we have control over the vehicles initially before we start putting them into individuals' hands. But eventually, you could see a world where this technology frees up your time in the vehicle. We talked about some of the advantages, but another big advantage is all of a sudden you don't have to drive. So you can do things like watch your favorite shows, you can do work, you can take conference calls. You've just freed up your commute, and that's exciting for a lot of people.
I had the opportunity to drive an autonomous vehicle, and I guess for regular consumers, it's not quite ready for prime time with us because every time it would blink and say, grab the steering wheel. They wanted to know that I was still participating in the driving experience. It wasn't a situation where I can sleep my way through the commute. And so I'm wondering how long do we get there? Because I think part of it, I think, wow, great, someone else, the car is going to drive itself. I can read my text messages and emails on my way to work. So is that really the purpose of this, or is there another purpose for the autonomous use?
Well, I think there's the advantage that we talked about, certainly the safety aspect of it, the relieving congestion, and then also you're getting back your personal time are certainly major reasons for doing it. The technology will be ready in 2021, where you'll be able to sit there and do all the things that you enjoy doing in the vehicle. So that is the timing, and that's when we plan to roll out that technology.
So is Ford working also with artificial intelligence and the integration of that, and what role does that play in autonomous vehicles?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a big piece of it. Essentially, we have found some of the best and brightest minds in the world to work on this technology for us, and that's the basis of it, because that's what's making the decisions for the vehicle to do things. And it does that by driving and learning. And so the car is constantly learning about its surroundings and getting better and better at driving. So it's important for us to drive the vehicles a number of miles so we can learn about all the edge cases, as well as we run the cars through simulations. So we can actually run the software through a computer world that represents a city and test that software to make sure that the vehicle is ready to handle all the different things that may come out in an urban environment.
Wow. That sounds very exciting. Is there a scary part of all of this at all to you? You think, wow, the future is coming and you all got to be ready. Will it be affordable?
Yeah, so our plan is to make it affordable. And by owning that vehicle within Ford Motor Company, we'll be able to share it amongst lots of people. And so there's a lot of people who can't afford to own a car, especially in city environments, so they have to pay for parking, insurance may be higher. Now all of a sudden, that AV can come and pull up, and it can pick you up. You could pay a fare for that vehicle, and then it can go on to the next person. And because of that, there's a lot lower cost of ownership in participating in this type of network.
Wow. Almost sounds like a different kind of Uber. So part of this connectivity, I guess, are cars talking to other cars, the vehicle itself collecting data and information. What's Ford's role in that data collection? Does this mean we have more satellites in the sky? How do we collect and protect that information about the individual vehicles and trucks that would be using this technology?
Yeah, so the cars will be actively collecting information about all of its surroundings. So the cars will have cameras on it. It will have LiDARs, which is a special type of a laser sensor that can sense in 3 dimensions the objects around it. Our view is that our focus is really on trying to improve mobility for cities. And so we want to share that data with cities, and we want to help relieve congestion and help share things. You can imagine that these cars will know where every pothole is in every city. That's very valuable, right, to cities in terms of, hey, we can go, there's this big pothole right here. We need to go fix that pothole, right? So there's really good opportunity in how we can use that data to improve the overall city environment.
Right. But is there a system in place to also, or we're working on protecting that data? Can my car get hacked? I mean, these are, when we create a new thing, I think there's also industry that surrounds it. Before, you had to go buy your own groceries, or maybe someone delivered your groceries and your milk to your house. Now we have lots of grocery stores, and now we have different companies that will go grocery shopping for you and bring your groceries to you. And now we have cars that can help you drive.
Yeah.
So, and there's that technology that's collected during that period, and how do you protect that technology?
Yeah, absolutely. So cybersecurity translates itself right into the vehicle as well. And so we are very focused on that. in order for us to put these vehicles on the road, we have to be very comfortable with that. And so we're making huge investments in that area. Again, we're bringing in some of the best minds in that space to help us navigate that. And so when we launch this car, it will be good from a cybersecurity standpoint.
Good. Right. Speaking of making cars, so Ford announced it is moving in the historic Corktown in this 45,000 square foot building. And if I read my history right, I think Mr. Ford himself has some history in the Corktown, how Corktown is named Corktown, and from Ireland, where that's coming from. Can you talk to me about why the decision to move to Corktown and what exciting energy you're going to bring to that neighborhood?
Yeah, I think it's we're bringing some of our best teams there. So we're bringing both our electric vehicle team as well as our autonomous team to Corktown because we want to be part of that resurgence. We want to be part of the Detroit atmosphere, and because those technologies are going to be used in cities, we want our employees to be around cities, to see how mobility works in cities, and really get down there and understand it. At the same time, we're fighting for some of the best talent in order and attracting them. And the way we understand it is that these people and these top talent, they really want to be in city environments now. And so it's important for us to have a presence there to help bring all those people to our company.
That is so exciting. It used to be last one out, turn the lights out in Detroit, and now everyone's rushing in. This is so exciting that you're bringing those jobs into the city of Detroit and really extra revitalizing that neighborhood. So if there's someone in school right now, and we're talking a lot about STEM and the skilled trades, and someone looking like yourself who's an engineer, but we don't know all the jobs that exist. Like I'm a good tinkerer. Or people know that they're good at certain skills, but they don't know the jobs that exist in the market. What advice would you give to someone that says, I want a future in that industry? What should I be doing right now with my education?
I think that with this new evolving technology, there's so many different things that are going to be needed in order to bring it to reality. So obviously there's the computer aspect of it, the programming and all that. So that's certainly something somebody can go do and get involved in. That's huge. There's also, we have to manage all these fleets. So if we're going to own these fleets, we have to manage them. So there's an operational aspect that people have to be involved in. Of course, there's the mechanical side too, because the software has to be able to communicate with the vehicle. So there's that piece of it. So there's so many different ways to participate in this new value chain. I think that people just, and I think what's really neat about this for young people or people who are looking to get in this space is it's just starting. So you're not behind. So you can jump in right now and you can be on the forefront of it. So I think it's just about learning, getting involved. There's all kinds of conferences. There's all kinds of people talking about this space right now. And so there's a lot of ways for you to get smart on it and get knowledgeable about it and participate in the future of this industry.
Wow. So what's the best part about working for Ford Motor Company?
Just one thing? Because there's a lot of things. I think that the best part is the passion that people have for the company, the culture that's there. People love Ford, and they love being a part of the company. And then I also think that really the transition that we're seeing to this new world and the company being focused on being a part of that. And it's fun to be part of that and help try and change the company and shift its mentality to this new world. And I think those are just, you've got that passion, you've got the culture, and you've got this push, and those two things are, it's really fun to be part of that.
And this investment, I appreciate Ford's investment in southeastern Michigan, the city of Detroit, and that's pretty exciting to have one more. We talk about trying to attract businesses from out of the state to come to Michigan, and it's always wonderful when Michigan-based businesses expand and grow in their home state. So I thank Ford, and I thank you, Brian Wolf, for doing that, and all the great folks who work at Ford Motor Company and all the divisions and affiliates that are related to keeping us on wheels and likely having the car drive us in the future. So it's time for us to take a short break now, and we'll be right back after this. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome back to From Lansing with Love. I am so excited now. We have with us today Seun Phillips, the director of Planet M, an informal public and private state coalition dedicated to making Michigan an international hub of mobility innovation. Thank you for being here with us, Mr. Phillips. This is so exciting. I want you to tell us about Planet M because I think Planet M is responsible for making all this mobility, autonomous vehicle innovation sexy and attractive to Michigan. How did Planet M get founded? What do you do? Where are you located?
All right, thanks for having me here. So Planet M is an initiative with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation where big ideas and mobility are born. So the first year was all about branding. We're in year 2 now where we're really focused on our services. So I like to break it down in 3 different things for our services. First, it's our Planet M landing zone, which is powered by the Detroit Regional Chamber in partnership with us. And that is a space in downtown Detroit at the WeWork building, 4th floor, where VCs, startups, OEMs, auto manufacturers, and suppliers all coexist in the same space. So think about it like the center of mobility, downtown Detroit, Planet M landing zone. The second thing is our match meetings. So we want to be able to connect our startups, VCs together as well with the auto manufacturers to make sure that innovation is happening, right? We want to be able to accelerate that innovation, and that's by us connecting people together. And then the testing, piloting, and deployment is another thing that we're facilitating to also accelerate the innovation. So that's Planet M.
Wow, so we're going to get into some of this testing because we're doing a lot of this testing here in Michigan. I've had an opportunity to go to a test track.
Okay.
Very exciting things. But tell me a little bit about you and what's your background?
Yeah, so my background, I'm an electrical engineer, so I went to the University of Michigan, and then I designed cell phones at Motorola and a lot within STEM education to obviously feed the talent pipeline. And then now I'm here with Planet M to work on autonomous and connected vehicles.
Wow. So in Michigan, this connected vehicle piece, we have American Center for Mobility, MCD that's doing all the testing for this, and there's something, is that at Willow Run, the American Center?
American Center for Mobility.
And even there was talk about how we use the old airport on the east side of Detroit and doing some test runs. So tell us about the testing sites and why is it important?
Yeah, so MCD is located in Ann Arbor. It's 32 acres. Think about it like a mock-up city, right? So people that have their technologies that they want to prove on a smaller scale, MCD is a great place to start at, where you're actually able to put your vehicles out in the field and see how it interacts with the traffic lights and the different shops, and it drives down the city. American Center Mobility is 500 acres, right? So think about it like the big brother. That way, it has 2.5 miles of highway loops. It has a tunnel. So as cars are going through the tunnel, we want to know how it's able to communicate because signals do bounce differently when you're enclosed in a tunnel. And that just opened up in December, where people have started, or companies have started to test, and it's one of 10 proving testing grounds in the United States. So that's a big deal that we have it here in Michigan, being the motor city.
Yeah, so it is a big deal. And what makes Michigan a unique leader in the AV market space?
What makes us a unique leader is that we have, so Michigan has the highest concentration of engineers, right? 6,600 graduate annually. 76% of research and development is done right here in Michigan. Michigan has 96 of the top 100 North American suppliers that are right here in Michigan. So when you think about the innovation that needs to happen and being able to connect the companies together and the technologies together, everything is in close proximity right here in the great state of Michigan. So that makes us a great partner for people to come in. We have, the first in mobility patents and research projects. So this is the place to do it because as we have advanced technologies, the suppliers here, the auto manufacturers here, it just makes sense.
Wow. So there has to be some infrastructure around this. I know we have testing sites, but just like my prior guest, Mr. Wolf, was talking about testing in limited areas on actual roads. So I imagine there has to be some connectivity between satellites in the sky. Is it trackers in the road? How do we move this from a test track to on the road? Is there some infrastructure that needs to be built around that, and is Planet M involved in that?
Yeah, so you're talking about our smart corridors. So with the smart corridors, that's the Michigan Department of Transportation, which is a strong partner of ours. Their first project was I-96 and 696 between US 23 and I-94. So the smart corridors are very important because it's what allows the vehicle to communicate with the infrastructure. The infrastructure that's been put in place allows for cars to get messages, and for when you have vehicle to vehicle infrastructure, it needs the infrastructure that MDOT has put in place to be able to communicate. And then that is what MDOT is doing to be able to provide safer roads, which we all want safer roads, less crashes, and that's an important piece to the whole connected and autonomous vehicles.
I imagine that Michigan is also unique, unlike California. Like California may go, this is where we need to test the vehicles. But we have snow, we have ice, we have rain. Everyone has rain, hopefully. At some point you need the rain. And then we have that freeze and thaw season where we have the potholes. And so being able to drive on those scenarios, what happens if you have potholes? What happens when the car can't see all the lines? Would you say that's an advantage that we have?
Yeah, so if we're really going to get to the level 5 autonomous, which is completely autonomous driving, it's important that you test it in all the different case scenarios. And Michigan obviously has the 4 seasons, which makes this a very advantageous site to test the different vehicles. So and having that at the test facilities as well as the 4 seasons, it makes this very attractive.
Yeah. So has there been any conversation about trying this on campuses? And when I visit Michigan State or U of M, some of our larger campuses, they have a bus. But what if they had an autonomous bus or car system that took me from one end of campus where I have a class to the next end? Is there any conversation with our universities in that smart corridor?
It's like you're just leading me into it.
Good.
Yeah,
All right.
so yeah, right. The University of Michigan is doing that right now. So it's geofence, which means that it's a route that has been determined. But today it's happening in terms of shuttle services that are being used on universities, as well as within different cities. City of Detroit being one of them. There's been some pilots with so May Mobility has done some pilots in the city to be able to take some workers in a geofenced area.
So, Sean, let me ask you about this, because I think sometimes people may get intimidated or scared or worried about what all this autonomous vehicle business means. Does it mean me as the Uber driver or the truck driver, am I going to be out of a job in a few years? What do you say to the workforce? How should we be retooling and retraining and rethinking about this to not be intimidated by this technology, but to grow with it?
Yeah, so I mean, technology is technology, right? So we advance our technologies as time progresses. So there's going to be new jobs that are going to be available.
I'm thinking right now of a job opportunity, as we are developing this new technology, things that did not exist before. Someone's got to fix it when it breaks down.
Exactly.
So you're the engineer. Do you know of a part of the Planet M to think of, we have to prepare people to fix the cars, trains, trucks, or whatever that we're creating. If it breaks down, if it gets into a car accident, this is not a simple remove the bumper, place a new bumper on. There's sensors and cameras all around this. So that's a new opportunity, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that is a new opportunity. And I think with Planet M, we're trying to bring as many partners together, especially knowing that workforce is a huge thing, right? Just not even in Michigan, across the world, where you need to continue feed the pipeline, right, for the next generation and for people to have these particular skill sets. So, our role with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation is to make sure that we keep that in mind and that we're helping to facilitate those conversations, bringing in the right partners in place so that we're continually advancing what we need to do.
So who are some of your partners at Planet M? And if I'm a business, if I'm a startup, can
Yeah.
I just show up on your door and say, hey, I need some help. I want to get into this market. How does someone interface with Planet M?
Yeah, so I'll start with our big partners: Michigan Department of Transportation, the Detroit Regional Chamber, all the different economic development organizations. In terms of startups, we look for the startups that are what we call like well established in terms of, at the very least have a business plan, have proven technology, and if they go to theplanetem.com, they can sign up to be a startup. And then we have our advisory and review board in terms of the companies that are looking to get in. As of today, we have over 13 startups that are within the space, and we're continuously growing at a rapid pace.
Are you an incubator as well, or you just take established?
So don't look at us as an accelerator, or it's a place where startups can. It's a co-working space. So imagine a startup coming in. They have desk, right? So we reduce the cost for what it costs per desk, and they're able to work in that space. And we provide different professional services through our partnerships. We have what we call mobility curated events, where based on what the community and the companies want, we put together mobility events around their needs. So it's an ecosystem of mobility that's all within downtown at the WeWork building, Merchants Row.
Okay. Well, I think it's very special that you are operating in this space at this particular time, and very unique. In my capacity as the minority chair of workforce and talent, and I sit on the Michigan STEM Council, and oftentimes I'm the minority in the room, and you are occupying this space at this time, and it's wonderful to see your
Thank you.
face in this. What do you say to young people or not so young people who go, how do I get into this space? How did Mr. Phillips break into this business?
Yeah, I think education, of course, is important. I think so. I've worked with students in the past as well, where and around the STEM education, and they're working on robotics, right? So when you think about the car, robotics is a key element to it, and they're doing robots and automated cars on a smaller scale. They have to go through a particular obstacle, which is, you can relate that to how autonomous cars are working because you're using sensors, you're able to understand the mathematics behind it. So for a student, science and math, it's an important field. Get involved with STEM, understand the intricacies of the programming and how just autonomous cars work on a smaller scale. And I think our educators are the one that's pushing a lot of STEM education so that they do understand it, because this is a very exciting field, right? It's cool, it's attractive, people love it. So when I talk to a kid, they're excited about it because it's cool. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Is it just engineers? What's the other majors that are working in this industry?
Oh, so you have engineers, of course.
And what type of engineers? Because there are lots of different types of engineers.
So just about every engineer, when you think about, the car is it's a complicated system, right? So you can have mechanical engineers, industrial engineers, electrical engineers, computer engineers, and then majors that you wouldn't even think about, right? Just human behavior, right? So understanding human behavior, because as you do autonomous cars, you have to understand how people are going to react and change and translate that into artificial intelligence. So within the field, there's a vast amount.
So you could be a
of field.
psychology major,
Exactly,
and go, I'm going to work in Ford Motor Company, and you would
And they
never
have 'em.
think I'm going to work in Ford Motor Company. Don't they want an engineer or some mathematician? I'm a psychologist, and
Yeah.
there's a space for that person too.
Yeah, because you think about designing, like we think engineer thinks differently than a person within the psychology and communications. But when we're all around the table, that's how that diversity is what creates a great product, right?
Yeah, and that artist and graphic designer too, because the creatives have to make it cute and
Yes,
sexy,
exactly.
so that you'll buy it.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Well, thank you so much, Seun
Thank you
Phillips.
very much.
That's about all the time we have today, unfortunately. I'd like to once again thank my guests, Seun Phillips, the director of Planet M, and Brian Wolf, the head of autonomous vehicle business at Ford Motor Company, for joining us today. And thanks to all of you for watching. If you have an idea for a show, please contact my office, and that contact information will be on the screen. So until next time, be good to yourself and each other. And with that, we're all clear and out of here.